You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Welcome to the big show, my family and friends. We certainly appreciate you guys being here. What would we ever do without you? The Chris Voss Show, the family that loves you but doesn't judge you, at least not as harshly as your mother. And now go clean your room. Anyway, whatever that means. So anyway, guys, we have an amazing gentleman on the show. We're going to be talking about B2B sales, content marketing, content making, all that sort of great stuff, and some of the different things that you can do to improve the quality of your business, get more sales, and all that good stuff. And before we get into it, though, as always, the guilt and shaming of go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss. We're talking a little bit about that today. And our big LinkedIn newsletter over there, Grows Like a Weed, the 130,000 group over there. Subscribe to that as well. Also go to TikTok. We're starting to kill it on TikTok for some reason. We just found a really cool AI to cut up our content. So Chris Voss 1 over there and the Chris Voss Show podcast on TikTok. Today we have an amazing gentleman on the show. He is the managing director of a company called Napier, B2B.com. Michael Maynard is on the show with us today. Mike is a self-confessed geek who loves talking about technology. Who saw that coming? He believes that combining the measurement, accountability, and innovation that he learned as an engineer with a passion for communicating ensures Napier, his company, delivers great campaigns and tangible return on investment. He began his career as an electronics design engineer working for companies ranging from GEC Marconi to DDA, developing products from complex radar systems to Kim Wilde's mixing desk. He later joined IDT Incorporated, an American semiconductor company, making his move into the marketing when he switched from European applications manager to European marketing manager. Welcome to the show, Mike. How are you?
Hi, Chris. Thanks so much for having me on the show. I'm great.
There you go. And I skipped a key part here. You acquired this company, I guess, in 2001?
Yeah, that's right. I decided to buy a technology agency about a month before the dot-com crash, which was not my best business idea.
And 9/11 and everything else that happened. Or wait, yeah. No, that was 2011. I don't know what area I'm living in. Clearly, I need more coffee. So give us your .com again. I think I gave it a plug, but let's get it from your lips.
Yeah, sure. It's napierb2b.com, which is NAPIER, the letter B, the number 2, the letter B.com. And if you're into B2B marketing, you'll get the URL. And if you're not, you're probably wondering why on earth we got something so complicated.
There you go. So give us a 30,000 overview of what Napier B2B does.
Yeah, so what we do is we help companies that are building technical products, so technical things, sell them to other companies. So that's the technology and the B2B. So we're helping them sell to, generally speaking, engineers.
There you go. So engineers is right up your wheelhouse. And you've been doing this since 2001. So, geez, what is that? Like 22 years, 23 years?
Yeah, a little bit longer than that. I mean, I realized actually when you read the bio that Kim Wilde's mixing desk is going to date me. And a lot of listeners are going to go, who on earth was Kim Wilde?
I'm sure. Tell us.
Oh, Kim Wilde was a fantastic British pop star. So famous, I think, mostly for Kids in America being her son.
There you go. Gotta love the pop. You heard the Beatles too? There's the Beatles there.
I'm not quite that
the Beatles does. There you go. There's a couple of them still around, evidently. There you go. Well, there's still time. There you go. So give us a 30,000 overview of some of the in-depth stuff you guys do. Some of the ways you help these companies do B2B sales.
Yes, I think it's really interesting. We spend most of our time working with very large companies. So companies with tens, maybe hundreds of thousands of people in them, perhaps turning over $1 billion a year. And what we do is we help them sell. The interesting thing to me is a lot of what they can do is now accessible to people who are running, very small or even, one-person businesses. So to me, what we're doing is we're helping bring the technology that's available for marketing to our big customers, but also increasingly to some small startups as well.
There you go. There you go. And so what size of companies is kind of your bottom limit of size that you'll work with? Do you have one? And what are the companies that are a good fit for you?
That's a great question. So our smallest company was actually 3 people.
Wow.
And we did a couple of projects there. So we're not pretentious about, they've got to be a certain size. But generally speaking, the best fit companies are companies that are making a technical product. And that can be, something physical. So we have clients that make like huge industrial motors. We have clients that make AI silicon chips to speed up AI. Or they can be doing some software. So that could be software around helping businesses run more efficiently, or helping engineers do their job. And that's another big area. We do things called software development tools. So software engineers actually bizarrely use software to create better software. It's kind of a recursive sort of thing, but we do a lot of helping those companies talk to software engineers and sell their products.
There you go. Do you find that a lot of companies, especially engineering companies, have a hard time bridging that gap into the people marketing business?
Definitely. I think this is one of the big challenges. And, I used to be an engineer, so I did all the wrong things. I know how it goes wrong. And what happens is you have these engineers and they've spent 3 years of their life and they've dedicated it to designing, a new product. And let's say it's a new drive that powers a motor. And 3 years of their life has been pumped into this, all their expertise, all their effort, and they want to tell you every single detail about what it does. They want the precise specifications because, they've worked hard making it 0.1% more efficient. But the problem is when it comes to marketing, people don't actually want all that detail. They can go look at that if they need to, but initially what they want to know is, how is it different? Why does it stand out? The classic sort of marketing messages. And so, being able to tell the story around, why the product was developed and why it's different and why it's special, that's what we're really good at. And we help people do that, but also we help people phrase it in a way that engineers like, because, speaking as an engineer, we're pretty special people. We're pretty unusual. We're not necessarily a classic people. We're quite nerdy, and so we like things communicated in a certain way. So we're able to take those stories and make them exciting to engineers who do care about some of the details and some of the technology.
There you go. And having someone help translate that, because I know how engineers and my Silicon Valley people are, a bit nerdy and technical, and they'll their conversation is like, so you take the ISO 540 to the CDL, and you're like, I don't know what are you talking about? And so being able to convert that to a marketing aspect where people are like, well, why do I want to buy this, and what does it do for me? Can really, help with that translation.
Yeah, definitely. I love the quoting of the ISO regulations there, Chris. You're obviously well.
I didn't make that up, actually. I'm just making shit up at this point.
Yeah,
but it sounds real. That's how it is.
No, I mean we have a great example. For example, we do a lot of work with companies developing software, and in the automotive sector, you're producing software for cars. You kind of want it to work if it's the system controlling your brakes, for example.
That helps, yeah.
It's important. And so, you could talk to one person and say this software helps make sure that when you hit the brake pedal, the car actually stops. Engineers probably want it slightly different, and they'll talk about this software helps you comply to ISO 26262, which is the hot one in the automotive sector. I'm sure you love that.
That's
great,
my favorite.
Great late night reading.
IS2,
yeah. But you have to communicate it in a way that really says to the engineer what it's going to do, how it's going to help them, and it's hugely important. And let's be honest, it's really important that when you do hit those brakes, the car does stop.
I've found that. The judge says last time I cut someone's brakes, I can't do that anymore. Now, you guys have what you guys call the 4-step process. Tell us about how that works and how you help clients with it.
That's a great question. So, again, this is, kind of a bit of a nerdy marketing thing. But what we find happens a lot is that when people start marketing, they see all these tools and they've got all these different things, and they go, oh, we can run Google ads, or we can go on LinkedIn and we can do some advertising, or, we can write some blog posts, or we can create a TikTok. And, they're rushing off in 4 different directions, doing 4 different things that actually don't really help each other. And so what we do is we put in a process, and the whole point of the process is to get people to think. And so if you're marketing, there's a couple of stages you've got to go through. And the first is, thinking about where you are and where you want to get to. So, it's that change that you've got to make. And that might be that, you're a company that doesn't have a great reputation, you want a great reputation, or it might be you've got a product nobody's heard of and you want people to hear about it. And that's what we call the determine stage. That's the first stage. Then you've got to work out who you're talking to and what's going to change their mind. So you've got to understand them. And there's lots of, people looking in depth at marketing, and they build these personas, these models of what people are like. But that's our focus stage. We look at who we're going to talk to, what they care about, what their problems are, and how we're going to solve their problems. And so we kind of have these 2 stages before we rush in that make sure that our campaigns are then built upon something that's going to be effective. Because you can run great campaigns, you can, even get campaigns that go viral and generate a lot of views, but actually don't generate any sales. And what we really care about, and I think this is, marketers talk a lot about ROI, right? It's like, you need to make sales. At the end of the day, most of marketing is around driving sales, or making people more enthusiastic about being a customer.
There you go. Plus, you got to refill that advertising budget. If you don't make sales and refill that advertising, you can't advertise anymore, and then you just file bankruptcy. So the 4-step process: determine, focus, deliver, and enhance. I like these identifiers here and how you have them, and also for delivering great service as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
So, what this does, this process, is it lets our clients, understand how we're building campaigns.
So it helps the engineers in the interpretation too, huh?
Yeah, but also we talk about, so a lot of agencies talk about, measuring results at the end. That's too late. If your client spent a load of money with you, you've run a campaign, you go, yeah, it didn't work. That's not really very helpful. So we're always measuring. We're looking to actually, put things in that say, are we heading in the right direction? Or are we not? And that for us is super important because, when it comes to marketing, it's about creating ideas, and some of those ideas really work and really resonate. Some of them perhaps, not quite there, but if you can see that you've just missed a little bit and you can redirect, at the start of the campaign, you can actually end up with a really effective, really good campaign. So we talk about enhance because delivering great service is all about making sure we get to where the customer wants to go. And so it is that continual course correction to make sure that, okay, our first attempt, our first idea, maybe it was perfect, maybe it wasn't, but if it wasn't perfect, we're going to get to that perfect idea by the end of the campaign.
There you go. And so you guys do a lot of different things with campaign strategy. You do marketing research, measurement, results, international campaigns, PR and media relations. There's probably one important aspect I should ask you. Do you work with, you basically work with anyone around the globe, or do you have a specific market you like to do business with?
That's a great question. So we do work around the globe with clients, but our biggest areas really are Europe and the US. So recently, about 18 months ago, we actually launched an office in the US, which is quite exciting for us as a European company. We've been working with American clients basically for the entire history of the company. But opening in the US has allowed us to do a lot more there. And that's been a real exciting success for us. But, that's our focus. And, I'm going to be honest, don't come to us if you want a campaign in China. We're not experts in China. And that's a very specialized area. And equally Japan, again, very specialized. So we wouldn't be there. But we do run campaigns, particularly across the English-speaking world. So, if you're looking for campaigns in Australia, a lot of our campaigns run that sort of area.
What sort of social media platforms do you usually run on?
Well, being business to business, LinkedIn is like the biggest platform.
There you go.
And the reason for that, and I don't know how many of your listeners will know a lot about LinkedIn, but LinkedIn lets you target by what they say, firmographics and demographics. So a bit about the company and a bit about the person. So you can say, I want to target chief engineers at companies that do this product. They're in food manufacturing. And LinkedIn uniquely lets you do that. And that's LinkedIn's superpower, because a lot of people, when they're marketing, they know who they want to talk to. They know the kind of companies these people work in. They just don't know the individuals. And LinkedIn lets you get there. So that's by far our primary sort of social media platform. Other social media platforms, not exclusively, but generally tend to be used for things like retargeting. So when someone gets hit with one of our LinkedIn campaigns or something else, maybe an outbound email or just Google search, they come to the website, we'll then show them ads on other social media platforms. And that's very cost effective. But it's much, much harder to find the people we want on those other platforms. LinkedIn's unique in its ability to find people.
It definitely is. Back in the day when there was pretty much the kind of the big three, there was Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We used to say, think of LinkedIn as the bar, which hasn't changed much. Think of Facebook as your house or hanging out at the family reunion. And then LinkedIn is, think of being at work. So, post appropriately and act appropriately in those three segments. Last thing you want to do is be on LinkedIn acting like you're in a bar and posting bar stuff and things. Although I've seen people do it, but I love LinkedIn. I've loved LinkedIn for all my years. It's so great, and you can interact with people who are professionals, or at least they're acting professional until they get to Twitter. So there you go. But you can target people, and you can target people on whether they're engineers or CEOs and what they're into. Our big target is leadership and podcasts, and so it's just such a great platform, and it seems to be getting better. Our newsletter over there just keeps growing immensely. It goes out to everyone's email. It's I've loved it. Our groups used to be able to send a group email to everybody, but Microsoft fucked all that up. But that's another story. So what have we touched on that you guys do and help with clients that we should tease out to people?
So I think what we do is, we really help people reach engineers, and so that's our first thing, and that's why you mentioned our services and you talked about services, and it's true, we do a lot of things, but the reason we do a lot of things is because they all need an understanding of who you're talking to. And I think it's going back to, you talk about the different social media platforms. You really need to be very different in the way you behave, the way you advertise on Facebook than you do on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is much more professional. One of our clients actually said, the real difference is LinkedIn, people go there to do work. Facebook, people go there to waste time. And advertisers should respect that they're trying to waste time. And he was absolutely right. You've got to go and have fun on Facebook. It's got to be enjoyable. It's very different from LinkedIn, where actually, sometimes some fairly unexciting content can actually do really, really well because it talks about an important topic. Whereas you try that on Facebook, it's going to crash and burn. People want to have fun. They want to enjoy it.
Yeah, it's hard to do business over there. I see people trying to do business on Facebook, and I'm just like, what? And I mean, you can't target people with jobs. I don't think you can target people with ads and jobs, but LinkedIn is so good. So what are you finding most companies now in the B2B market really struggle with the most, and how do you help them overcome that?
That's a great question. I think if you look, companies, whether they're big or small, all have the same problems. And this I find really interesting. We'll have the same problem with, a client that's got 4,000 people in marketing across the globe to a client that's got maybe 20 people total in the company. And generally speaking, it's around content. It's around creating things that they can then use for marketing. Most people know how to push the buttons and push out a LinkedIn campaign. And yes, could we do it better than they could in-house? Possibly. But is it going to make a massive difference? No, it's maybe a 50% improvement. If we can create great content, and a lot of that comes from great ideas, then we can make a huge difference. It's orders of magnitude better in terms of performance when you create that content. And almost universally, what we're seeing is, everyone's talking about content marketing. The reality is, although they're talking about content marketing, they're all struggling to generate that content. And having people who can do that is really, I think, the superpower of having an agency like us. And that's why, we're so focused on one particular thing, talking to technical people about technical products, because we're really good at creating content that works in that environment.
There you go. Creating the content. Do you guys repurpose a lot of content that maybe people are trying to make work?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about taking one thing and reusing it as many times as possible. And particularly when you're talking about something technical, because quite often you might need, someone fairly senior in the company who's an engineer who, really doesn't put marketing at the top of his priority list to come and, validate what you've created and make sure that you have got those technical details right, or to come and brief you at the start. And so if you do a one and done piece of content from that, that's it. You've got one piece of content. You're not going to get anything else. He's probably not going to come back. And typically it's a he, sadly, with some of the best CTOs I know are female, but most of the people are male in our industry. But, you've got one piece of content and that's it. So you've got to look to repurpose it. And you've got to think about, from the start, how am I going to get something that can then be split into different things? And that can be, taking something that's written and creating video or animations from it, or it can be taking an interview and then spinning out, different pieces from that as well. Lots of different ways to do it. There's no one magic way to repurpose. The magic way to repurpose is think about it at the start.
There you go. I mean, when it really comes down to it, engineers can be very cerebral, very technical based, kind of like we joked about earlier. But sales is still a human, sometimes, most times emotional sort of decision-making process. People buy based on emotion. And so being able to bridge that gap for your clients and make sure that, whoever's on the other end, the buying end is connecting with the product, maybe not always from an engineer basis. They can understand what's going on and make their decisions. Are you guys using or seeing any advancements in AI that's maybe helping you and your clients do better?
It's getting there. I think the challenge is that AI is really good at reproducing content that's similar to other stuff. And that's what we see. And, if you see even the image creation things where, you ask for a giraffe riding an elephant or something, it's still basically, pasting a giraffe on top of an elephant, and it's something you'd never see in real life, but it's bits of things that are kind of pasted together. It's the same with written content, ChatGPT, when it produces content, it's fundamentally kind of pasting ideas together that already exist. So for us, there are two problems. One is quite often we're talking about something new. And today AI is not great about writing something new. It can kind of do it, but it's not brilliant. And secondly, it's incredibly technical. And so those technical differences matter hugely. And again, AI is not great at fact checking. My favorite thing is, one of my hobbies is speed skating, and I'm a genuinely terrible speed skater. All my friends who skate will be laughing at this. But I typed into ChatGPT a little while ago, tell me about the greatest speed skaters in history. And it gave me this really good answer. And then I said, what about Mike Maynard? Isn't he one of the greatest short track speed skaters in history? And ChatGPT went, oh, yes, funny you should say that. Actually, he is. He skated for Canada. He did, I had this amazing career that it made up for me.
Wow.
And genuinely, there's no Mike Maynard that skated for Canada and had this history and competed in the Olympics. It didn't happen. But for a while, I felt great. And I think that's a big problem with ChatGPT and technology and technical products is there's so many facts that have to be right. AI is not great at getting facts right. And so that's another challenge. Will it get there? Well, it's certainly going to get a damn sight better than it is now.
There you go.
That's for sure. It's absolutely going to get closer and closer. The jury's out as to whether it will replace writers. I suspect it probably won't. I suspect there'll be fewer writers who are, much, much more creative, driving the AI and using it as a tool rather than, all the writers disappear or all the designers disappear. I think there'll still be people around, but it's going to be an incredibly powerful tool, and it's only getting better.
There you go. Maybe you'll get a Hall of Fame, Hockey Hall of Fame thing or Speed Skater Hall of Fame induction. You'll be like, wait, they bought that. Wow.
That'd be awesome. I did play hockey a while ago, so quite a few years ago now, but ChatGPT doesn't seem to know about my hockey career. I'll have to tell it.
I'm going to tell it how I'm the sexiest man alive, and I've been on the cover of Vogue or whatever 10 times. See if it buys it. There you go. So there's a lot of interesting things that go into marketing. Do you feel that in the future, marketing is going to get more challenging, more noisy, harder to, social media is pretty noisy these days, even LinkedIn. Do you think it's harder to be seen? Is it harder to get noticed, or do you just have to be like yourselves where you have your finger on the pulse and you know how to dial it in?
I love that question. That's such a good question, Chris. Because
this is why they pay me $1 for coming on the show and being the host. I get $1 per show.
Doubled your salary? That's amazing.
Yeah, sometimes they throw in like a quarter or something. Yeah, it's cool.
No, it's a brilliant question, because what's going to happen is there's going to be a lot more noise. There's going to be a lot more noise, a lot more content. AI is going to generate an awful lot more content. God. But the reality is only a tiny proportion of content that's generated today has any input. Only a tiny percentage of tweets or posts or anything go viral. And so that's not going to change. And what we're going to see is we're going to see two groups of marketers. We're going to see one group going for volume, and they're going to produce low quality, high volume, and it's not going to do well. It's going to do very much like it does today. It's pretty meh. I mean, you might get something, but it's never going to go big, and most of your stuff will never get viewed. And there's been studies that show, some websites, 90% of the pages never get viewed.
Oh wow!
Very large, very large websites. So, they never get looked at. People only look at a very small percentage. So these people going for volume and just investing everything in AI to generate volume, they're going to struggle. And it's going to get harder and harder for them because there's going to be more and more volume. There's going to be other people that focus on quality. And the reality is in marketing, and sometimes agencies I say this, but some of your campaigns will work, some of them won't. The campaigns that really work are the ones you should go and invest more dollars in. And you should be doubling down on what works and what really resonates with your audience. And that, again, let's bring this all the way back to repurposing. A lot of what we do is we'll produce different pieces of content. Mm-hmm. We'll look at what works with the client, and then the content that gets the best engagement, we'll then start repurposing and putting it maybe, from written into video or video into written or whatever it is, and really focusing down on the thing that we know works, and focusing on that quality and doubling down on what actually delivers results. Mm-hmm. That's what's going to be the best thing for people in marketing. And that's what marketing, I think really will be in the future, is finding, those sweet spot things and then really, really working on them.
There you go. Yeah, I realized that as soon as you said it, that AI is going to make the world noisy. People are going to be putting, there's already now a thing where I guess Amazon has been flooded with AI written books on travel that are just flooding the market. Some are hijacking copyright and people's content that they've made as a human being. And but yeah, it's flooding. It's going to flood everything, and I guess everybody will write a book here with AI or something. I don't know. It's going to get insane, and it's going to get harder to get noticed.
It's crazy. I mean, Amazon's also having the same problem with reviews. There's lots of sites where you just search for as an AI in the review section, and you see all these reviews that are AI generated. So top tip on Amazon: if you see "as I'm an AI" in any of the reviews, probably don't trust any of the reviews for that product.
Yeah, we've seen that in podcasting with podcasting reviews. I've had people that I'm like, how do you have like 3 episodes and 500 reviews and they all read like a bot? In fact, sometimes their grammar will be off and there'll be like a period in the wrong place on all of them. And I'm like, oh, I see what's going on. I get those approaches on LinkedIn like all the time. I don't know why Pakistan and India have cornered the market on podcast promotion, but I don't know. Somehow we failed in our countries to corner that market. Don't do that, people. But I mean, that's just an example of the more noise that's going to be out there, and creating content that converts, that builds awareness, makes a difference. And then you guys have a little bit of added feature where there's the technical aspect of it that you have to make juicy, or what's the word I'm looking for, something that's exciting for people, even though talking about microchips or something like that might not be as fun as, I don't know, buying a car, buying a Ferrari or something. It's a little bit more technical.
Yeah, well, I mean, as an engineer, clearly talking about microchips is way more interesting than talking about cars, unless you want to go back to those ISO standards where, they'll get me excited.
There you go. Well, you gotta do the ISO standards and the DDT and that's a poison for rats or something. I don't know. I'll just start making up shit here. So, any final thoughts before you go out on teasing out what you guys do and how you do it, and how people can onboard with you, reach out to you, and get to know you guys better?
I mean, it's been fun conversation. I think, if people out there, they're working for a company that's B2B, they're selling something that's technical, whether it's software or a real product, just come and ask me questions. And I love talking to people. So, obviously we mentioned the website, napierb2b.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Mike Maynard. I'm the only Mike Maynard at Napier. Or you can email me, and I'm sure most of your viewers, they're pretty smart. They probably realize my email address is mike@napierb2b.com. If you've got questions, just send me an email. Love to talk to people. Be great to get to meet some through the show.
There you go. That'll be awesome. Thank you very much, Mike, for coming to the show. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me as a guest, Chris. Really appreciate it.
There you go, guys. Check it out. Go to their website. You can reach out to them and contact them there too. Napierb2b.com. Thanks to our audience for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, youtube.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn, of course, our favorite. And we're starting to do stuff on TikTok. Chris Voss 1 on TikTok and the Chris Voss Show Podcast on TikTok. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next time. And that's